December 28, 2014, from Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It was the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers in this NFC North Division rivalry matchup with their division title on the line in the final week of the season. The Packers won the toss. They elected to defer, and so the Lions would get the ball first. They'd start off on their own 20 for the first possession of this game. And on 3rd and 1 from the 29, Stafford was sacked by Clay Matthews, and so out would come the punting unit as the Lions went 3 and out and would punt from their own 23. So now the Packers would take over on their own 37 with a little less than 13 minutes left in the first. They handed it off to Eddie Lacy, picked up 22 yards in the first down in Detroit territory at the 41. Then on 2nd and 5 from the 36, Lacy picked up another 8 yards in the first down at the 28. They then gave it to James Starks. He picked up 21 yards in the first down at the 7 to make it 1st and goal. But then they weren't able to actually punch it in, and they were faced with a 4th and goal on the 1, and they got stopped for no gain. Eddie Lacy got stopped short, and so they turned the ball over on downs. So after 10 plays in 5 minutes, getting all the way to the 1-yard line resulted in 0 points for the Packers. And so now Detroit would take over on their own 2-yard line, backed up against their own end zone with about 8 minutes left in the first quarter. And on 2nd and 8 from the 4, Joey Bell picked up 9 yards in the first down that brought the ball to the 13. But then they lost 4 yards. And now he actually picked up 1 yard, but then lost 4 yards on 2nd down. On 3rd and 13, an incomplete pass would bring out the punting unit. So they punted from their own 10, and on the punt, Micah Hyde returned it 55 yards for the touchdown. So the Packers get the punt return for the touchdown, and they now led with the score Green Bay 7, Detroit 0. So now the Lions get the ball after the kickoff on their own 8-yard line, once again backed up against their own end zone. A holding penalty on the kickoff is why they were on the 8-yard line. There was about 5 minutes left in the first. And they would end up with a 2nd and 10 from the 8. Joey Bell picked up 11 yards in the first down at the 19. Then on 3rd and 1 from the 28, Stafford went to Megatron Calvin Johnson for a 3-yard reception and a first down at the 31. Stafford then went to Golden Tate. He picked up 14 yards in the first down at the 45. Then on 2nd and 13 from the 42, Stafford went to the rookie Ebron, and he picked up 22 yards in the first down at the Green Bay 36 as the first quarter came to a close. So after 1 quarter of play, the score was Green Bay 7, Detroit 0. So now to open up the second quarter was a first down on the Green Bay 36 for the Lions, but they weren't able to get another first down, and they would end up punting from the Green Bay 37 instead of going for what would have been a 54-yard field goal. So now after the punt, the Packers would take over on their own 6-yard line. Now they were backed up against their own end zone with about 14 minutes left before halftime. And on 3rd and 10 from the 6, out of the no-huddle in the shotgun, Aaron Rodgers found Jordy Nelson for a 12-yard reception to make it a first down on the 18. Aaron Rodgers then went to Rodgers, and Rick Rodgers picked up 18 yards on the reception for the first down at the 36. Then on 3rd and 1 from the 45, Aaron Rodgers went back to Ricardo Rodgers. He picked up 7 yards in the first down that brought the ball to the Detroit 48. Rodgers then went to Jordy Nelson. He picked up 22 yards in the first down at Detroit 26. But then Eddie Lacy ran 8 yards, but he fumbled the ball. Hyde blew him up, and Johnson recovered. So now the Lions would take over after the turnover with the ball on their own 17 with about 10 minutes left in the second. Reggie Bush then ran for 14 yards on first down to make it a first down of the 31. Then on 3rd and 2 from the 39, Joey Bell picked up 18 yards in the first down at the Green Bay 43. Then on 2nd and 4 from the 37, Joey Bell picked up 6 yards in the first down at the 31. But then 3 incomplete passes would bring up 4th down. They elected to go for it, and a 4th incomplete pass in a row would turn the ball over on downs for the Lions, as now the Packers would get the ball on their own 31 after the huge defensive stop. And there was about 6 minutes left before halftime. And on first down, Eddie Lacy ran 11 yards for the first down to the 42. They then gave it back to Lacy, and he picked up 2 yards. And then on 3rd and 8, Aaron Rodgers ended up scrambling for the first down with a 13-yard run to bring the ball to the Detroit 43. And then Aaron Rodgers hit Randall Cobb for a 34-yard reception and was now 1st and goal on the 9. Then on a penalty against the defense for holding would make it 1st and goal on the 4. Aaron Rodgers then went back to Randall Cobb, and he had a 4-yard touchdown reception, and it was now Green Bay 14, Detroit 0. So now the Lions would take over on their own 23 with about 2.5 minutes left before halftime. Reggie Bush would get stopped for no gain, and the game went to the 2-minute warning. Then after the 2-minute warning, they had an incomplete pass. It was now 3rd and 10 from the 23. Stafford then went to Bush. He picked up 10 yards in the first down at the 33. Stafford then went to Ebron. He picked up 16 yards in the first down at the 49. Stafford then went to Golden Tate. He picked up 19 yards in the first down in Green Bay territory at the 32. Then on 3rd and 13 from the 35, an incomplete pass, but there was a roughing the passer penalty against the defense. And so now the Lions had a first down on the Green Bay 20. Stafford dropped back out of the shotgun. He found Megatron Calvin Johnson Jr. for the 20-yard touchdown pass. The Lions put their first points on the scoreboard and cut the Packers' lead to 7 with the score Green Bay 14, Detroit 7. So now after the kickoff, the Packers would have the ball on their own 20, and they would just run the clock out, and so the game went to halftime. So the Packers were up by a touchdown at halftime with the score Green Bay 14, Detroit 7, and Green Bay would get the ball first in the second half. And Matt Flynn was under center. Aaron Rodgers had actually went to the locker rooms early in the second quarter. Well, not early in the second quarter, but earlier in the second quarter, is he had some issues with his, I believe it was his ankle, or his hammy, and so he went to the locker room to get some attention, and Matt Flynn was now under center, and on 3rd and 4 from the 26, Flynn was sacked by Jones, and out came the punting unit as the Packers went 3 and out on their first possession of the second half. So now the Lions had the ball on their own 49 after the punt with about 13 minutes left on the clock in the third. And on 3rd and 10 from the 49, Stafford hit Golden Tate for a 12-yard reception, a first down at the Green Bay 39. Then on 3rd and 6 from the 35, Stafford went to Bush. He picked up 5, and it was now 4th and 1 from the 30. They elected to go for it, and Stafford picked up the yard with a QB sneak. It was now a first down on the 29. Then on 2nd and 10 from the 29, Stafford went to Megatron Calvin Johnson Jr. for the 12-yard reception, the first down in the red zone at the Green Bay 17. Stafford then went to Ross. He picked up 13 yards in the first down that made a 1st and goal on the 4. Stafford then out of the shotgun went back to Megatron for the 4-yard touchdown, and this game was now tied up at 14 apiece. So now with the game tied, the Packers would have the ball on their own 40 as the ball went out of bounds on the kickoff, and Aaron Rodgers came back into the game, injury and all. So Aaron Rodgers was under center. They were running the ball at first. And on 3rd and 1 from the 49, they gave it to James Starks. He picked up 3 yards in the first down at the Detroit 48. They then went to the air, and Aaron Rodgers found Randall Cobb for a 29-yard reception, a first down in the red zone at the Detroit 19-yard line. And then on 3rd and 4 from the 13, Aaron Rodgers went back to Randall Cobb. He picked up 13 yards for the touchdown, and it was now Green Bay 21, Detroit 14 as the Packers were back in the lead. So now the Lions would get the ball after the kickoff with about 3.5 left in the third. They had it on their own 39, and they would go 3 and out on the possession and punt from the 39 as they did not get any yards on the possession. And so now the Packers would take over after the punt with the ball on their own 25 and about 3 minutes left in the third. And on first down, Aaron Rodgers went to Eddie Lacy, and he picked up 15 yards in the first down at the 40. Then on 3rd and 3 from the 47, Aaron Rodgers went back to Eddie Lacy, picked up 5 yards in the first down at the Detroit 48. The Lions challenged, but the ruling was upheld, so they lost a timeout. That was their first timeout of the second half. So now it's 1st and 10 on the 48. Rodgers went to Nelson. He picked up 10 yards in the first down at the 38. And then a 2-yard run by John Kuhn would bring the third quarter to a close. So after 3 quarters of play, the score was Green Bay 21, Detroit 14. So now to open up the fourth quarter, the Packers had the 7-point lead in the ball on the Detroit 36 for 2nd and 8. And a penalty for holding would move them back to the 46. They weren't able to recover from that. They did pick up 12 yards on 3rd down, but that was not enough for the first down, so out would come Mason Crosby to attempt a 52-yard field goal. It was up, and it was blocked. It was blocked by Abdul Quddus, and so the Lions blocked a field goal, and they would now take over on their own 42. And on first down, Matthew Stafford fumbled it, and Morgan Burnett recovered, And so now the Packers got the ball right back on the Detroit 42 with about 13.5 left to play. Then on 3rd and 4 from the 36, Aaron Rodgers went to Rick Rodgers. He picked up 6 yards in the first down at the 30. Then on 2nd and 5 from the 25, Rodgers went to Nelson. He picked up 15 yards in the first down in the red zone at the Detroit 10. Then on 2nd and 10 from the 10, a penalty for a face mask would make it a 1st and goal on the 3 and 4 of the Packers. Lacy picked up 2, and now on 2nd and goal from the 1, Aaron Rodgers took it in himself for the 1-yard touchdown on the QB sneak, and it was now a 14-point lead for the Packers with the score Green Bay 28, Detroit 14. They actually took a look at it, and it was ruled that he did break the plane, so all scores are reviewed. But now the Lions would take over on their own 25 with about 8.5 minutes left to play in the 4th quarter, down by 14. And on 1st down, Stafford went to Ross. He picked up 20 yards in the first down at the 45. Stafford then ran it himself on a scramble for 18 yards in the first down in Green Bay territory at the 37. But then 3 incomplete passes would bring up 4th down, and on 4th and 10 from the 37, they elected to go for it with still 7.5 minutes left to play, but down by 2 touchdowns. And an incomplete pass would turn the ball over on downs. And so now the Packers would take over with a little over 7 minutes left to play, the ball on their own 37, up by 14. They would end up punting, though, after 6 plays from the Detroit 43. So now the Lions would take over on their own 10-yard line. And on 1st down, Stafford dropped back to pass, and he was called for intentional grounding in the end zone. And so that resulted in a safety. And so now the score was Green Bay 30, Detroit 14. So now on the safety punt, Detroit kicked it off, and Randall Cobb ended up fumbling it. It was recovered by Vaughn. And so now the Lions got the ball back. They head on the Green Bay 44. They're then faced with a 2nd and 10 from the 44. Stafford went to Theo Riddick. He picked up 21 yards in the first down at the 23. Stafford then ended up scrambling for 10 yards in the first down at the 13. Then on 2nd and 3 from the 6, Stafford hit Theo Riddick for the 6-yard touchdown pass. They went for the 2-point conversion. It failed. And so the score was now Green Bay 30, Detroit 10, as the Lions trailed by 10 points. Or Green Bay 20, as the Lions trailed by 10 points. So now on the kick, they would go for an onside kick, but the Packers would recover on the Detroit 47. They would then just hand the ball to Eddie Lacy to run out the clock. Detroit used their last timeouts, and the Packers would end up punting. They even took a delay of game penalty as that pushed them back to the Detroit 47. That's where they would punt it. And they were up by 2 scores. Now the Lions had the ball with a little over half a minute left, and on 1st down from the Detroit 20, Stafford was sacked by Daniels. And that pretty much put the nails in the coffin. It was now 2nd and 19 from the 11 with just 5 seconds left. They did a little pass, but the game came to a close, and the Packers win the NFC North, and they win this game with the final score, Green Bay 30, Detroit 20. So the Packers win the North, and they have a record now of 12-4. They're 8-0 at Lambeau Field, undefeated on the season in Wisconsin. The Lions fall to 11-5. They're 4-4 on the road this season. So the Lions will be playing in the wild card next week, and the Packers will be getting a bye week as they're the number 2 seed in the NFC. And in this game, Aaron Rodgers was 17 for 22. He had 226 passing yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He also had 14 yards rushing off of 2 carries, most of which he was injured. Stafford was 20 for 41, 217 yards and 3 touchdowns. He has 29 yards on the ground off of 4 carries. The leading rusher in this game was Eddie Lacy. He had 26 carries for 100 yards. And the leading rusher for Detroit was Joy Bell with 13 carries for 60 yards. Bell also, he didn't actually get any receptions. The leading receiver was Jordy Nelson. He had 6 receptions for 86 yards. Randall Cobb had 4 receptions for 80 yards. And Rick Rodgers had 5 receptions for 40 yards. Eddie Lacy also had 26 receiving yards off of 3 receptions to go with his 100 yards rushing. And the leading receiver for Detroit was Golden Tate with 3 receptions for 45 yards. And Calvin Johnson had 4 receptions for 39 yards. And the rookie Eric Ebron had 2 receptions for 38 yards. And on defense, the game's leading tackler was DeAndre Levy of the Detroit Lions. He had 10 tackles. The leading tackler for the Packers was Morgan Burnett. He had 7 tackles in this game. And the Packers win this one. They hold on to win it. They were pretty much in control for most of the game, although the Lions did tie it up there in the 3rd quarter. But then the Packers came back. Aaron Rodgers came back in the game, and they scored 2 touchdowns to go back up 28-14. And then the Lions ended up making it interesting, but in the end, the Packers win. So Green Bay wins the division, and they win this game with the final score, Green Bay 30, Detroit 20.